I was sitting here innocently living my little Dungeons and Dragons life, thinking the perfect backstory doesn't exist. It can't hurt me. Then one of my players jumped out of nowhere and proved me wrong. There are perfect backstories. Backstories so easy for your DM to use, they practically jump off the page and slap your story in the face, then slot perfectly into place. Now, you might be thinking this is going to be a video where I tell you that you can't be an edgelord or a Mary Jane character. But you can. You can be anything. The perfect backstory is not defined by its cliches, history, epicness, or even genre. So if you want to literally play as Sasuke Uchiha and have your whole family be murked by your brother, or as a happy little halfling who's never seen anything bad happen in their entire life, you're in the clear. The perfect backstory is about making it easy for you and your DM to add to it in the future. If you want to make a backstory that will make your DM's favorite character, you're first going to need to communicate with your dungeon master. Well, I say that a lot in videos, don't I? Where I will be providing you with a list of things to include. No one knows better than your DM on what your DM likes and wants, even if they aren't sure what they want in their backstory. Using things from their world will help your character be more grounded into the story and easier to incorporate. So first, we want everything that has to do with communication with the Dungeon Master. Ask them about their world, find out information about the thematic, the locations, anything unique to their world. This can help your character easily slide into the world. It won't make you the favorite player yet, but it will make your Dungeon Master's life a lot easier, as well as you, as a player, knowing stuff about the world that your character might know. This can cause some amazing familiarity in the game, if you know a couple buildings, locations, towns, or even NPCs. Instead of saying, "Can I find the nearest tavern?" you proudly and confidently say to your party, "Hey, I know this amazing tavern nearby. Their bread bowl is to die for. It's called the Whispering Goose. Let's go." Another key thing to talk about to your Dungeon Master is how much they actually intend to use your backstory. Setting this expectation can stop a lot of frustration if your backstory doesn't get used very much. Additionally, you can figure out the length of your backstory based on how much they actually want to use this. Now, this might sound a bit odd, but if your DM wants to use your backstory a lot, it's actually a lot easier for them if it's shorter. I mean, still have things to pull from on it, but don't fill it in too much. Keep your story short, with many holes in it for them to add information in. And for all you people who love to write long backstories, that's fantastic, but stick around to the end of this video because I'm going to explain later on why it's harder for the Dungeon Master, and also give you some amazing alternatives that still let you be creative and gush about your character in ways that uplift everyone at the table, and can quickly turn you into the whole group's favorite player. Now that we have the info we need from our Dungeon Master, now it's time to create a couple things that are easy for your DM to stick into the story. The key here is that we want to give them options, but we should be aware that they might not use the options. Include a couple names of people you've known throughout your life, and what your general relationship with them are is a great start. Keep their personalities vague so it's easy for your DM to roleplay, but describe how you feel about them. This could literally just be a list or a short story about one moment from the past. Then onto the fun part. Include 1 to 2 mysterious vague things in your backstory. In one of my players' backstories, they included that a long, dark, clawed hand took them as a child, bringing them from the astral planes to the Feywild. This is perfect. Give no reason, no explanation on these events, no lore. Keep them vague and easy to work with. Just some random fantasy AF tidbit that your DM can quickly and easily pick up if they want to slot it into a story. Mysterious events make it so easy to tie you into a greater fantasy story, and this one thing is what made my player's backstory stand out to me so well. In fact, it's the entire reason I decided to make this video. Not only is it easy to tie in, but it can also inspire the DM and their story, and create a new plot to fill in the holes they left in their own story. But a mysterious thing isn't enough. One thing I always ask for is for my players to have a reason they're going on an adventure hook I gave them, and for befriending their own party. This is a really common mistake that many players make. You should always be thinking about how your choices affect your friends playing the game. And it's really hard to work with a player whose character refuses to have a tie-in. Where on paper we often think secretive characters or non-combative ones might be fun, in reality, they normally make your team have to try and curate to include you in things. I had a game once where I was a player in it, and one of my players tried to be a non-combative character who was on the run. They proceeded to sit in the corner of the tavern the entire first session and would disengage with us if we tried to include them. And they didn't even speak up to join in on our first mission. Now, this example is a bit extreme, but it really shows the point of where it can go wrong. This doesn't mean you can't be non-combative or have secrets. You just need a reason to be adventuring with your group and a reason to communicate with them, befriend them, stick with them, and go on that first mission. For example, my character Spore has never directly damaged anything in a 3-year-long campaign. But I gave him a reason to be with the party at the start of the campaign. Spore set out to find their magical tree that died in a fallen city, using the adventuring group as a bit of safety. Together, our party found my tree and became friends throughout the shared trauma. We together cleared out an old manor and lived there, and now Spore continues to adventure with them, because he wants to keep them safe from harm, using his many utility spells and illusions in combat situations. One simple request for a side backstory mission gave Spore a reason for an adventure, that I made based on the information our Dungeon Master gave us about the world setting, allowing Spore to integrate into the party. And I kept it simple. I asked if I could have a tree placed somewhere in a city. So it was a really low effort thing for my Dungeon Master to add in. Now, you could probably ask for something with a little more effort than that, but try to make it not too hard for them to add in unless they're up for the challenge. Now, for all you people that want some bonus suck-up points, to become God's favorite princess, include one thing based on what makes your Dungeon Master's world special compared to other fantasy worlds. What is their touch in this world? Show you're interested, ask them some questions, or use some knowledge they gave you. This could be about anything. Some magic thing, the gods of the world, the culture, the location. Doing this can show that you care about your Dungeon Master's world that they created, that you want to experience it and are excited about what they love most when they create. You also don't have to do this with just your Dungeon Master. You can know any other player's character before the game starts. You can show you care about anyone at the table and the stories they bring. Especially if you're playing with a new player, this can make them have a really good first experience and help them feel a bit familiar, like they have someone to play off of in roleplay. And I'm just a big fan of advocating for showing people you care about others at the table, and creating a welcoming experience and hyping each other up. Speaking of hyping things up, what am I drawing today? This is Maurun, a goddess who helps bring the dying to the outer planes, which soon you will be able to find on my Patreon. Maybe your death saving throws are a little boring for your players. Hype up their story, on their turn having a narrative about what it is beckoning them to the outer planes. What is Maurun showing them? Have them describe what it is that is pulling them towards death, and let the roles decide if they resist Maurun or if they follow her guidance to the afterlife. Don't just have them idly roll a single dice on their turn. Hype up their narrative, their backstory. Let them still have a moment within that combat. If you're interested in other planes and Dungeons & Dragons, check out my Patreon where I'm slowly making basically an entire setting book dedicated to a single city, for you to easily create your own stories in the fire and earth planes to play with your group easier. Link in description. One of the biggest things about backstories is that backstories are only just started when the campaign begins. You build on them throughout the entire campaign. When you realize your character has some shady skills despite their prior happy backstory, you add in a section about how you joined a cult for a while and learned these skills. Add to your story as you see fit, based on the events that happen in the game or things you accidentally lore drop. Like one of my players, in a world where almost no one believes in God, there has been no proof of gods being real, accidentally lore dropped that they believe in the Outer Planes, which are the God realms. And it has created some amazing, interesting stories that have added to the campaign. By keeping things vague and short at the start, not only is it letting the DM be less restricted on your backstory, but same with you. You can easily build in new lore based on your actual actions in-game, creating natural storylines that never feel forced, that allow you to play however you want and have story to follow you instead of you following the story you thought might happen. Moments define us, so define your current moments by creating the background around them, turning backstories into forward stories. Okay, it's time. If you're someone who loves to create stories and world build and you create 12-page-long backstories as a player, that's fantastic. And I don't want to make you think by saying that backstories should be short that you can't world build or be creative in full force. You should totally get the practice and use those creative skills. But there are better ways to actually do this that uplift the players around you while doing it. This can quickly turn from a DM pet peeve into a superpower, okay? But first, let's talk about why a really long backstory isn't the easiest thing for others to work around. As a DM, creating a campaign can be a lot of information juggling and organization, especially if it's complex. When the DM goes to incorporate a backstory into the game, they have to take all their players' paintings and backstories and their own and blend them smoothly and evenly, making sure none of them are more important than the other. This is way easier to do when things are left vague and there are gaps in the story, leaving moments for them to add stuff in to make this smooth transformation. When you have a very detailed out story and you're trying to mix it with another very detailed out story, it becomes harder. The room you have to blend while staying true to either story gets smaller and smaller. Where some experienced DMs might not have a problem with this, a lot of newer DMs will struggle, and some DMs just don't have the time to figure out how to mix things in. Now here is an easy solution on how you can still show how much you care and love the game and your characters without giving your DM information overload. Instead of writing all the backstory at the start with a proactive role on storytelling, let's instead make our love of the game reactive to the other players around us. I've seen a couple of my players take a method where they write short stories throughout playing the campaign, taking your favorite moments and expanding on it, creating additional backstory based on actions you took, what you guys do in your off time, how your character feels in the moment because of your backstory, or writing how the campaign affects your character in the future after the campaign is finished, and turning them all into short stories. This way takes the extra workload off your DM and puts it back onto your shoulders. By reacting to things that happen rather than saying what should happen, it allows you to uplift and talk about not only your things but other players as well. You can create lore and impact the world and show your passion in a back and forth story way. Where your DM sets a story in place, you react, and they have the world react to you, and then you get to reflect on those events in short story format outside of the game. Just like how the best DMs are at least semi-reactive to their players' actions, you can become super-powered reactive storyteller as a player too. And if you've stuck around to this point, let's uplift some players around us. Tell me about a moment where another player created an amazing story moment or did something you really love, and have a fantastic day.